Well, here we are again. Welcome to Tea with Rich. I am T, and this is my co-host and forever buddy, Rich Lyons. Rich, how you doing this morning, buddy?
I'm good. Good morning. Good to see you.
It is morning. I don't know if we should be saying it's morning, to be honest with you. I never
Um,
know. Sometimes these things go up at 9 o'clock at night, but I guess no one's really paying attention at the end of the day. So,
that's right.
yeah. We have another guest on today, which we're super stoked about. Victoria Eisenberg. Did I say that okay, Vic? Perfect. So, Victoria, we're super excited to have her here. I've actually known Victoria. I don't want to date myself, but I'm going to say probably going back 10 years, anyways, if I had
Ooh,
to.
probably.
Yeah, maybe a little longer.
Gotta be more
Actually,
than 10. Yeah.
I don't think I met you until like year two or three when you were in there because you were always just on the phone as a BDR. I remember the first time I met you was actually at the Boston Harbor Hotel at the Exchange Conference, and you heard my voice and you recognized my voice from across the room, which happens every once in a while. So, Victoria, thanks for coming on the show. We super appreciate you taking some time out of your weekend to do this. I had to do that, but Victoria, why don't you just before we get into things, our agenda is pretty loose. We sort of just shoot the shit a lot, and then per usual, we have some questions for you, and we'd love to hear questions of us as well. But why don't you take a couple minutes, or as long as you're comfortable, and why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and give a little bit of a background?
Sure. And thank you so much for having me on this podcast. I love the two of you, like to the moon and back. I mean, you both have had such an influence on my life that I couldn't imagine a better podcast than with you two. So thank you.
Well,
I'm
we love you too. I got to get that in.
Thank you. I'm Vicky Eisenberg. I am currently a regional vice president of digital at Salesforce, so the combination of marketing cloud, commerce, and data cloud. But I have history, as you've already mentioned, is that I started at Demandware in 2010. I was a BDR, as TJ mentioned, and I was hitting the phones for like 2.5 years or something. And I remember coming in like a bulldog and just like tearing it up. And I remember the year that I probably got to know both of you a little bit better, which was probably around 2011 when we did that emerging brands. Do you
Oh,
like remember
yeah.
when we had emerging brands, which was
With
like
Brian Searles.
with
Yeah.
Brian Searles, yeah. And we did like it was like how do we be cheaper in the market? Because like our list price is like 240K, and then we're like, let's do 60K deals. Let's just do them, see how it goes. And I was the BDR for it. So I had my numbers that I had to were extreme because to hit your quota, you had to close a lot more deals. So partners were a big part of that, which is where the two of you fit into my life. And I would bug Searles, I would bug you. I think Greg Barkhammer was in there too. Like it was a great, great time in our lives. But anyway, so I moved from being a BDR. I bugged Brian Callahan forever to become a sales rep. Do you remember this? Like this period of my life
Yeah,
where
for
all I wanted
sure.
to do was become a sales rep. I was like, I'm going to be great. I'm going to be great. And everyone was like, you need like 10 years of experience. And I was like, I'm awesome. I was like 22, no idea what I was doing, but I was ready to do sales. And he told me that I needed more experience. So he stuck me in being the Link Technology Partner Program Manager. And that was the year that we started charging our partners to be part of our program. Do you remember this? Where we like had to
Oh,
be.
yeah.
So Brian enlisted me, well, not Brian, I guess it was the partner program, but they enlisted me with the job of calling all 150 of our partners to then say they had to pay. And Brian was like, if you can do this, you can do sales. So I did that. And I remember vividly when I closed all of the deals, or at least as many as we could, I said, I've closed more than most of your sales reps this year in business. And he was like, okay, fine, we'll give you a shot. So I moved into being the first BDR promoted to sales rep at Demandware in like 2013.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah, it was
awesome.
it was great. So did sales at Demandware. We were acquired by Salesforce in 2016, moved into a sales role there. And then I became an RVP. So I did the same motion where I was like, I want to be an RVP. I want to manage a team. I'm really great at it. I'm going to be really good at it and live down my dream, which I am still an RVP. Um, but I think the big thing that's my work life, but alongside the work life was this personal life that I was living. And obviously got married at when I was a BDR or early days of Demandware. But then I had 4 kids along the way, and maintaining work-life balance with being a regional vice president of sales at Salesforce and traveling all the time and closing business and having to be on for my team and managing 4 little ones that are all under the age of 9. It's a lot. And I lose my mind every day, but I think I thrive in chaos. So uh, it's been a fun run, but hopefully that serves as an introduction of who I am.
I love that. Thank you. And interestingly enough, I'm going to ask you about almost every one of those subjects that
Thank
you
you.
just went over.
You teed it up very well. You teed it up perfectly.
Yeah,
This was
Rich, I don't know if
unplanned,
you.
by the way.
Yeah, Rich, I don't know if you snuck a look at my
I
question.
did.
Like,
Yeah,
she
I
has
did.
no idea what I'm going to ask her, which is pretty funny. So, no, I love that. And I remember when I first met you at the Boston Harbor Hotel, you came over to introduce yourself to me. I don't even remember what year it was, and I remember you telling me that you were engaged and you were soon going to be getting married, and then of course we've watched you, the whole time. We did, let's see, well, we were involved really early on, and then I kind of broke up with Jeff and everybody, and then we got back involved, and I
I
think
love
we
what he
got
said.
back.
He broke up with them. They had
Jeff
a
broke up with me. Well, it's a long story for another day. We should get Jeff on. I'm not sure if he remembers
That'd be
it,
fun.
but. And then we got back involved in 13 and did Perry Ellis and then did the responsive web design SG2 stuff and or SG responsive, whatever it was called. So no, it's been fun and it's been amazing to watch you, to be honest, because I remember you as this young girl on the phone and full of piss and vinegar and just, all over it. And you were so fucking bright. Like, I don't know. Did you ever connect with Maddie? Did I ever connect you and Maddie?
I don't think so.
There's a young lady, Pete. You got to get her info from Pete. I'll see if I still have it. But there's a girl that reminds me of you that is now in sales that started as a
Oh,
BDR under Pete, and
oh,
very similar story, very similar passion, very similar trajectory, and just gets it. Like, I think the thing I appreciated the most about you is that you're always just a good person and a good human to talk to, and you never pulled any punches or anything like that. So I think that's amazing. So
thank
And
you.
I
thank you
love
for
that
that.
you were a hard worker. Like you were just going for it. I mean, you were on the phones, you weren't afraid of the phones, you weren't afraid to call. And I mean, I love that. I mean, I do think with sales, you can outwork other people, right? And I think you knew that. Like you absolutely knew that and you did it, right? And
Yeah,
you
I think
both, I mean, TJ has met Hannah as well. And Vicky just talked to Hannah the other day, TJ. And I mean, I kind of see a lot of Hannah in you, like to be honest, right? Like I think she's ready to go, right? And so I'm very excited for her foray into being a BDR and into sales. So very excited. I really appreciate you talking to her as well. Thank
yeah,
you.
I mean, I like to be a role model for people in this industry, and I think what I like to do is also give back and say, and I remember, like, just like you with me, you remember when you're a little pipsqueak and you have no idea what you're doing and you just kind of have a lot of energy and you're ready to go and you're ready to learn and you're ready to fight the fight. And you just get noticed that way. Like,
Yeah.
you have to stand out somehow and you have to have the compassion and the energy and the relationships and all that stuff. And I don't think I knew any of that when I was younger. Like, I don't think I knew that I had to do that, but I just naturally was that. I think you saw in me that like
Yeah.
I was that type of person. And I remember my cubicle that I was making a million phone calls. We had to do like 60 calls a day or something just insane. But
Activity, activity, activity.
exactly.
It's all about.
Um, but I remember the office in front of me was Jameis's. Remember Jameis Driscoll?
Oh,
He
of
was sitting
course.
right in front of me, and I would be on the phone all day. And he would always come over and be like, "All I hear is you all day." Like, that's all I hear all day. And he goes, "And I love it. I love it because all I hear is you making sales all day." And it's like everyone in the whole office could hear me because I was the only one talking at a
It's
like
awesome.
high volume. But that's what I teach, people like Hannah. Hannah's wonderful and she has a good head on her shoulders. But sometimes when you're younger, you have no idea what you're doing. And sometimes older
Yeah.
people have no idea what they're doing either. But that's okay. It's okay to not know what you're doing as long as you're excited about something. Like if you're put your whole heart into something, you will get noticed and you will create relationships that you need. So,
It's interesting you say that. I think one of the things a lot of the sort of younger folks I meet and chat with a lot is that they don't understand the cranking amps that it takes to kind of get your career on the right trajectory, right? Like you have to be a tireless networker of yourself and for yourself. And you have to kind of swallow all the fear and the intimidation and the anxiety that goes around and walking into a room and starting conversations with people that matter, making phone calls, doing exception handling. I think we're in an interesting era now where I think a lot of people maybe don't understand kind of the plow work that's actually required every day to kind of do that. And
Well, you take a bunch of rejection too, right? I mean, think about it. I mean, I think it builds character. I hate to say it, but you have to put it away a little bit because you get your feelings hurt a lot. People hang up on you, but you got to keep going, right? And
that's a
and
good
I think it builds a lot of resilience and builds a lot of grit.
That's I say that all the time. I say this to my team all the time, which is I never take no for an answer. Like I don't because it's never hard no. There's always like maybe it's a timing issue. You know what I mean? I gotta think about it that way because if you're in sales and you hear no and you stop, what are you doing? Like you can't stop. Things change all the time. And so I love your point
I
about no.
love it. No, I used to say yes is yes, maybe is yes, and no is maybe.
Right.
Right? I
That's
mean, you
the
kind
way
of
to
have to hold that.
That's great. I love that. But TJ, you made another point which I love, which is like the human element of being a worker. It can mean sales. I'm in sales, so I'm drawn to that. But the importance of being authentic and human in your approach to everything. I think about the comparison and I think about building your brand a lot. Brand is very important to me in this industry. And I remember like I tell this story a lot because I think it's worthwhile, is that when I started in sales, remember I was promoted from BDR, Link Technology Program Manager to sales. And I remember the first thing I thought was like, I got to go buy a suit. I'm going to go buy a suit and some heels and I'm going to look fancy and show up to my meetings and know what I'm talking about, right? Like that was my first MO. And I told my mom, I was like, and it has to be a night suit. It's got to be like a theory suit. Like I can't be showing up in my Target, whatever, like that I'm normally in. And I remember I bought it and I remember I showed up to one of my first meetings. And I was wearing that and I was in Florida and the CIO was in like jeans and like New Balance sneakers and like, a t-shirt that said like Delray Beach. Like it was like,
That's
that's
great.
what he looked like. And I showed up looking at my suit and I realized immediately, like, my vibes are off. Like I'm totally missing the mark here. I have to be more human and so when I learned to just be myself in every single meeting where I was terrible at sales my first year because I was doing what other people were doing. I was trying to read a script. I was trying to, be what everyone else was. And the second that I remembered that like I got to go back to what I want to be, I started sitting down in presentations and I started to not use a laser pointer. I started to dress in jeans and sneakers and I was great. Like I felt more confident doing that. So I tell everyone that I like mentor, just be yourself and you'll be
wait,
better because of it.
I love that. That's
wait,
awesome.
wait, you used a laser pointer?
For the record, the people that I was sales reps with had been they'd been sales for, forever and they knew exactly what they were doing and that's what the vibe
I'd
was.
never use the laser pointer. I will go on record. Never use the laser
I,
pointer.
I have one and I still have it. It's around here somewhere. Never get used to it. I used to always get criticized on my slides because like I'd only have like the same six bullets on all of them for whatever I was talking about because
Yep,
I prefer to freestyle around the
that's what I'm
story.
like.
And
I'm the
everyone's
same
like,
person.
dude, we can't tell the story the way you tell the story. I'm like, well, I record all the things. Like, just
Just
listen to
learn it.
them and write the shit down yourself or make something up. Like,
Yeah.
um, that's pretty funny. I think that's actually amazing. And so, what was your go-to? I'm gonna get a big girl outfit for my job. Was it
Well,
Theory or was there a couple of places?
I mean, I would go to like Bloomingdale's or Nordstrom or something, and like I remember one time I asked for like a stylist. I was like, "Can you help? I have no idea what I'm doing. I have to look professional. I have to, have a blouse, and I have to have like those little scarf things." Like I was going all out in this professional moment because that's what I had to do. And I just hated it. Like I'm just uncomfortable in those types of things. And I feel like other people can feel your own discomfort. Like
Right.
the other side feels that. And they like more relatable people. I remember during COVID, I had all my kids home. And I remember like one of them showed up in the background and he was like actively vomiting, like in the background, like ready to come into a call. And the person on their call side was like, thank you for being human. Like this just explains like your life and it just made the relationship better. Like I thank you, COVID, for allowing me to do
That's
that.
awesome. Actively vomiting. I mean, that's a good a good distraction, a good background, right? Like you could actually do a little background, a virtual background of someone throwing up. But I think,
I wouldn't recommend it.
TJ's got a great question for you, which,
Okay.
I'm gonna steal right now, but
No, 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 no. Hold on.
come on, go right there. She's already there.
let's just relax for a little bit.
You're jumping the gun, Rich. You can't jump the gun.
You're not jumping the gun.
Unbelievable.
So
I
what is
forgot
your,
there's an agenda. I didn't read it though, but
it's not an agenda. We haven't got to the shoot the shit section yet. We'll do the shoot the shit. I'll tell you what, we'll do the shoot the
Are we
shit
not shooting
section
the
at the
shit? Is
end.
this not
I
shooting the
thought
shit?
we were shooting the shit.
What is this then?
This is kind of shooting the shit. This is a little
Okay.
more formal shooting the shit
Okay. Got it.
than I'm used to.
Got it.
So, let's like go. So, what is your sort of outfit now? Like, what's your
Right.
vibe now? Like, how have you transformed from like the Prince outfit to
Yeah.
Because that's all I think of when you talked about the little scarfy thing that hangs out. By the way, which also whenever I see one of those things, I think of Domingos immediately.
Yeah.
Because he's always got his what do you call those things that he goes on, Asgard or whatever on his
Oh,
Ascot.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
Ascot. Yeah.
But
to
what's
be
your fit
fair,
now?
That's him though. Don't you feel like that's who he
Oh, it
represents?
is.
You know what I mean? Like you
Yes.
don't feel like he's not being authentic in that.
No, I feel like his chest is a little higher, his shoulders are back when he's got that thing on, because you got to
Yeah.
see the full Asgard on his neck, and I think
Yeah.
he's probably got 40 of them. So,
Yeah. Well,
but that's why we love him.
so my outfit, since you asked,
Yeah.
jeans and a top is like standard, whatever. If I want to class it up, maybe some heels, but mainly sneakers. Like my vibe is more dress and sneakers because you're
Yeah.
like party on the top, comfortable on the bottom. Like that's
Yeah.
that's typically what I go
I
for.
love that.
The professional mullet.
Right.
I've moved to sneakers and jeans and a t-shirt and a jacket. Like that's my
Yeah,
fit
the jacket.
now. Like,
That's
but
the classic
I
sales.
haven't done the t-shirt. I'm still,
you're
I
buttoned
mean,
up.
button
Yeah.
down. I mean, not a button down because they're really not button downs anymore, right? It's not like you button down the collar anymore, but it's just a dress shirt, a long sleeve dress shirt
Jeans.
that buttons up. And
Jeans.
jeans, and I'll wear a sport
custom
coat, but I get my sport coat off pretty fast because I run hot. So if you have a long sleeve shirt on and a t-shirt
Yeah,
underneath
it's
it, I'm a
hot.
t-shirt guy. I always
Yeah.
wear a t-shirt because I sweat. And
Yeah.
then you have a light jacket. I try to find the lightest jackets with no,
See,
what do you call it? Inside, no
liner.
liner. That's what I was looking for. But then I take it off fast because I get hot, right?
But
See,
that's
when
the
I wear a
difference
long sleeve shirt and a jacket, I sweat, and then I can't take my jacket off because I
because you're
have
sweating.
sweat marks. And
You
so I
gotta get
went
the
to
jacket off before you start sweating, then you're good.
well, I moved to the whole Varvatos thing. So like I got t-shirts and jeans and kicks and
So
a nice
fancy.
jacket.
You always have both have great sneakers. Whenever the shoes like that you guys represent, I can't.
TJ and I we go shopping together. When we were in Vegas, we went to, what is it called? Urban Necessities
Wow.
in
I can't
Vegas.
remember
And
that.
we both bought shoes, expensive tennis shoes.
Yeah.
So I didn't always wear tennis shoes, but now my shoe game's up. I love tennis
Wait a
shoes. and
minute.
it's
Wait a
comfortable.
minute. You're calling those sneakers from the shoe surgeon tennis shoes?
Well, I
They're
think any kind
they're
of shoe is a
they're
tennis shoe.
sneakers.
This,
They're just
but no, this is
that might be
definitely
Midwest.
East Coast. East Coast is sneakers. We don't say sneakers.
they
Do you
say
play tennis in your shoes?
No, but I wear
Okay.
tennis shoes, even though they're not tennis shoes. It's just it's
I
like
read-
Kleenex. It's like Kleenex.
right. Clean. Yeah, I'm with you. Band-Aids. Yeah,
I
same
don't
thing.
know if your wife's you sneezes, you're cleaning next to you. I mean, Kleenex. It's all there. I can make it all work at some level. So, all right.
This is just an East Coast. I'm just a Midwest farm boy, TJ. Come on. We say tennis
That
shoes
wears
for
fancy
any
shoes
kind of
and blazers.
shoe.
Do you say pop or soda?
I say pop 100%.
We just say Coke or Pepsi. We don't. I don't think we say. Anything.
I don't say
Hold on.
soda.
You're a New Englander.
Yeah, I say soda.
Soda. Yeah, I guess I probably say soda. I usually now you got to make a very specific request though. So
You do.
Hatfield.
I mean,
McCoy.
you could just say, "Could I have a soft drink, please?"
No.
No. Who says that?
No one, but that's what it says on the menus. Soft drinks.
That's true. You're
It
right.
does. I guess that's a distinguished.
Does this qualify as shooting the shit? Is this the shooting the shit
Well,
moment?
no,
Or
we were doing the no, this is not
No,
the
he
shooting.
didn't ask you about your weekend yet, or
oh,
so that's
Well, no, but the sneaker thing is interesting because I didn't buy sneakers that day we went out. You bought sneakers, and then I snuck out several hours later and bought my
so I
sneakers.
buy a pair, right? And he likes them, and so then he comes back and buys two pairs
just to
while
one up.
I'm not with them.
Yeah, checks out.
Which I haven't worn except for once since I bought them. So, and that was a year ago. But
I
year
wear
and
mine, like you've seen mine.
I know
I
you
wear
wear them
those.
all the time, but you also had five more pairs made for you. So
I
you're a little
did.
bit more.
I did. I have more
I have
variety, but the
40
black ones
pairs.
are easy. Black is easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I typically err on the side of not. Well, now I have I've upped my collection of sneakers, but now I want more fun ones because I've got all the plain ones that are black, white, gray, but now I want the fun, bright ones.
So I actually have probably 40 pairs of sneakers and shoes and
And you're
boots.
making fun of Rich?
Yeah,
Rich
you have
bought
more
two.
than me. I don't have 40.
My entire collection is pretty tame. I have a lot of Nikes and things like that, but believe it or not, I only wear like the same five pairs all the time, which is
Yeah,
kind of
because they're comfortable.
but I didn't I'm a big Fendi, like I love Fendi sneakers, but I didn't mean to get on a big sneaker run here. I was more curious
You
how
did. You
you're
went deep
I
into
don't
it.
have any Fendis. I got to tell you that.
I don't
I
Zero.
either.
do. I have this house has probably got more Fendi in it than any other brand known to man. Anyway, let's get off the sneaker topic. We're gonna move off of this side. So, Victoria, we have a few questions for you, and
Can't wait.
there's nothing crazy here, but these are kind of like deep, like sort of on the human side of things and professional side. Rich, I'm gonna let you go first, so you can steal one of my questions that I spent so
No,
much
I was
time.
just when you were talking about your kids, right? And you were talking about, having four kids, but you also talked about working really hard, right? And so I don't particularly, me personally, don't like the term balance, but I would say for, how have you managed, I guess, right? Like to have a family and to be a mom, but also to work your ass off, right? And to do both.
Yeah, great question. I love it. And I like to talk about this a lot because I feel like it inspires others. The amount of people that have come to me to be like, I just look at you and I wonder how you do it, but I also am so inspired by you. It's like makes me that's what I love feeling that way.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, there's a couple different reasons why I feel like I'm able to be doing what I'm doing. One is my vision. Like I never fault on my vision for what I want to become. And anyone will tell you that I say the same thing over and over to everyone, which is I want to run a company one day. I want to be the CEO of some company and, the bigger the better. And I see that vision and I know I'm going to do it one day. Like I know that's going to happen. And this is the journey. I'm in the journey part of it. And the journey is more fun because you get to see yourself building up
Right.
the success, right? And I tell everyone
But as
too
part
that
of that, let me ask you, is part of that vision though also, I mean, you're a wife, you're a mother, right? I mean, so you have this business vision, but you must have a vision too about,
absolutely,
because you're much
absolutely,
more than that, right?
absolutely. But I'll go off of work. Let me separate them for a second and
Okay,
I'll bring them
got it.
together. Um, but a vision I think is important for anyone of what they want to become. And I always tell my team too, and people that I speak to, it doesn't have to be the obvious. Like I have the obvious choice, which is you want to move up in the world, right? You want to climb. But that doesn't have to be everyone's passion. Like I almost urge people not to choose that because it's not for everyone. It's
Right.
not the right path. It's just what you want. And what gives me the high is being able to see my success and getting closer to that goal. So, of course, my next step is AVP. Like, I want to be an area vice president. I want to be a manager of managers next because that will teach me new skills. And I use the word unknown a lot. Like, unknown, you have known knowns, known unknowns. You know about the unknown of something you don't know, but unknown unknowns is what I'm after in this world. I want to know about the things that I don't know about and then I learned something from it. And I feel like a more complete, rounded person because I'm like, oh, didn't know that. So I'll throw myself into crazy situations on purpose, very
I
uncomfortable
love that. I love
situations.
unknown unknowns. I love it.
Because you
I'm
learn, you
stealing that from you.
steal it, but this will be recorded so people will know it came from me. But anyway, so that's my work vision. my home vision is I always wanted a million kids. I always said that to Avi, my husband. And he was one of four and I was one of three. So growing up in a big household, camaraderie, kids over all the time, like that's what my childhood was. That's what his childhood was. That's what I want our kids to have. So I had twins first, which was totally unplanned and unexpected and absolutely insane. And for those couple of years of my life, it was wild. They came early too, which is a big part of my life of like my kids were all born prematurely. So I went through a lot of that. That's another story for another day. But as the family grew, I'm pretty sure I blacked out for 9 years because I don't know what happened. I don't know why it kept going and what they just keep adding. But having a support system like my nanny, who has been with us for 7 years, my husband, who knows my goals and has goals of his own, we want to teach our kids that you can do whatever you want. You can be whatever you want. You can work hard and still have a family life and still take care of them. But talking about the word that you hate, Rich, which is balance, is that I know that my family is number one. Like I will always choose a family something coming up over work, and work knows that. And like that's why I love Salesforce. They're always okay with my choice of family. So if there's some event that's coming up where let's say one of my kids is graduating from, third grade or whatever, those like recitals, or one of my kids is in or made honor roll and has one of those ceremonies that they're doing, I will cancel a trip to make sure that I'm there because I'm not going to miss my child's birthday. I'm not going to miss something important that shows up there. But the strong-willed heart of like knowing what I want and knowing what's most important and prioritizing your life is what gets me through the two sides of my life.
Love it.
Love that.
I love it. It's a great answer, and I love it. And I'm stealing unknowns, like because I do think creating that is great about learning. And then TJ and I had an interesting conversation the other day about couples maintenance. Like what's your, so how do you pay attention to your couple? Do you have things you do? Do you have things, do you have a date night? Do you do certain things to make sure that you guys are, especially with 4 kids, right?
Yep.
Like what's your couple's maintenance?
Avi and I had this conversation, I want to say 2 years ago, where it was a big contention point. Like it was definitely a topic of conversation where he was like, where am I in your life? You know what I mean? Like, where do I stack rank of priority of like kids, work, like all this, your friends? And I remember coming back to him being like, I'm so stressed out. I feel like I can't balance all the things that I want to do. Because I'm a type A, very social, outgoing person that wants to have a ton of friends, do success at work, have like, a relationship with all my kids and have a relationship with my husband. And that's hard. Like you can't balance that in a given week. Like things come up and you just lose track of time. So we definitely made it a priority to do more together. And I think that happened where we definitely go on date nights. So that's a thing. Like we'll always plan probably once a month or maybe twice a month to go out on our own. But we've incorporated our children a lot more into the things that we do. So like Avi and I just recently got into golf, and Avi bought everyone golf clubs, including my children, and started to take them. And so, if we go to I was like, we can't take our 9-year-old boys to golf. Like, that's insane. He was like, why? Why is that insane? And so he likes to challenge me on the things that we can do as a family together. When I say that's insane, I'm not taking my 4 kids to do that, he'll be like, no, we're gonna go as a family. It'll be really fun. So he is definitely the planner. Like I'm the planner in the sense of organizing it all, but he's the visionary of like, here's what I want to do as the family. Here's what I want to do with you. Here's, he outlays that. So I think to answer your question, I have a really great husband who plans a lot of those things for me because I don't have the mental capacity to do those things.
I love it. It's a good partnership.
Does he keep you in check, or do you keep him in check, or is it sort of symbiotic?
It's both. So the thing he always makes fun of me about is how worried I am all the time. Like while I look like I have my shit together, like in the background at night, I'm like, I'm so worried about this. Like this happened and I'm stressed out because of this and this is bothering me and this is whatever. And every time I say that, he goes, there's nothing you're not worried about. Whenever this problem's solved, you're going to be on to the next thing. There's always something that you are going to be worried about. So, and he always says, don't worry about the things you can't control. He says that to me all the time because I'm worried about stuff that you literally, what am I going to do? Just stress out until I find out? Like, there's nothing I can do differently to make me be less stressed because, whatever. So he keeps me in the check of my emotional state of being. And I keep him in check of like, for someone so smart, he went to Cornell with me. He was an electrical and computer science engineer. He's like so smart, but like one of those people that you have to be like, let's organize your wardrobe. Let's, those types of things. But we're a good balance for each other. We both have each other's backs in different ways.
I love that.
That's amazing. I love that too. And it's going back. I think that was something when I learned your twins were preemies. I mean, you and I have talked privately. My boys were 24 weekers and they were my first kids. And that's a nightmare that few people really know how to deal with. Talk about worrying about things you can't control. I love the couple maintenance thing too. I stopped taking worries off of my wife's plate because there was just 6 more waiting in the wings to fill the spots. So we used to joke like every time there was like a legitimate thing, I would extinguish it, and I'm like, oh wait, but here's 3 more.
Yeah, that's always. I forgot to mention. I do want to give him credit because every night we've established that like this is weird, but he massages my feet every night, like every single night, because I'm so stressed out.
I don't think that's weird. I think that's awesome.
He does it every night, and
I hope my wife never listens to this, by the way.
I don't know. We've started to spend more time together after we put the kids down at like 7:30, 7:38. We get into our bed and we watch a show, and he rubs my feet and maybe makes me ice cream. Like he takes care of me, which is how I get by in life.
I love that, and I think that's a story a lot of people don't tell about their men, is all the little things that go on. I don't know if you watch. Rich and I posted a short a couple of weeks ago about our couple maintenance game, and it's definitely funny to listen to, because I think that partnerships are partnerships, and you can't always have your A game on both sides, and that's really what it's all about. Especially somebody that you trust and respect and can be vulnerable with. I think vulnerability is a big deal. Like, I don't think anyone's seen me more upset than my wife has, and I've literally only known her for 5 years.
Yeah,
I think she's made me cry more than everybody else in my life for my entire life. But that's all.
It's what I call like a safe space. Like it's people, it's your spouse, but it's also the people that you surround yourself, where you can be 100% yourself and share anything. Correct. You're never going to be judged. You're always going to be supported. Like, we need that in life.
It's funny. I bring Shannon to work and I pick her up, and this morning I couldn't find my hat. So I went in PJs, and I have I don't know what kind of hat it is, but it's got a big brim on it. It's literally, she hates it. Like, she hates it. And my hair was all jacked up.
And you still wear it.
Oh, and I brought it to pick. Well, tomorrow's her birthday and she wants it to start today. So I was like, today's your birthday. Here's a surprise. So I show up. I literally look like a homeless guy in a nice car when I got her this morning. So, and I knew she didn't care. And all I kept thinking all the way over, because I didn't have my wallet, and all I kept thinking was, if I get pulled over or I have to step out of this car, I'm going to get arrested.
I'm going to jail. To jail.
Nightmare. There's nothing better than feeling safe with your partner, and Rich is an inspiration to that as well. And I love that story, Victoria. So I should just call you Vicky, huh? I call you Victoria all the time.
You definitely call me Victoria a lot, but you also call me Vic. My stages of people knowing, or people that know me, they start out with Victoria, because I put Victoria on all of my I'll say corporate things, or I just feel like it has to be that. And this is
when I do Thomas.
This exactly, but this will go through. This is another thing. I named all of my kids names that you can't have a nickname for, because of the trauma that I went through having no one knows what to call me. Are you Victoria? Are you Vicky? What do I put on the SAT? What do I put on my... So, you never know what to put on, and it's stressful for me. Even when Avi and I got married, we're do we put Vicky and Avi? Do we put Abraham and Victoria? What do we put? It's always... Anyway, it's a contention point. But people that don't know me called me Victoria, except for my dad, who's British and calls me Victoria. People generally call me Vicky because that's an easy nickname and seems free and fun. And then people that really know me call me Vic. Everyone I know that's close to me will call me Vic.
It's like Thomas, Tommy, and TJ. Right? So only my Irish buddies call me Tommy. And I always say
Tommy, yeah. I haven't heard anyone call you Tommy.
Neither have I.
there's a few. And what's funny is I always tell people, like, if we're ever out anywhere and somebody calls me Tom, they don't know me.
They don't exactly. Yes.
That's the insiders thing. Like, you could, if you called the office and asked for TJ, they'd hunt me down. If you called the office and asked for Tom
They're
or
like, who?
Thomas, they would be like, yeah, let me
Yeah.
take a message
Is
for you.
Thomas in? No, he's not here right now.
Thomas. I was out making English muffins that day, so. So I love the maintenance question. So I have another question for you around sort of working your way up, right? I mean, you've had an awesome, like, almost 15 years now. You've kind of done it, right? Like, where you are on the trajectory, your next step is increasing your leadership role. But there's a lot of people that haven't really kind of been able to crack the code that you have of getting an entry level gig, which, by the way, for anybody that doesn't know, being a BDR is generally an entry level gig.
But it's also hard. Anyway,
It's brutal to link. I missed your link.
Very hard.
I might have seen your link, briefly saw your link phase into sales and into leadership. So, what would you say looking back, the most challenging part of that growth was over the last 14 years?
I think this is the number one thing that I say to people, which is, I learned this the hard way early on, which is I expected that if I worked really, really hard and proved myself, hit my quota, did everything that they asked me to do, someone would find me. Magical fairy would be like, Vicky, you are doing so well. I'm going to bring you up and I'm going to promote you and I'm going to give you a raise because I noticed how well you're doing. Like, that's what I figured happened because I do what they say need me to do and I perform and they bring me up. Do you know it doesn't happen? That. Like, it doesn't. You have to, like, there's another aspect of, yes, you need to be really good at your job, but you also need to have a brand that screams, like, I'm ready for this next role. And you need to be able to verbalize it. So don't keep it to yourself. If you want something in life, don't just keep it to yourself. No one's going to know about it. No one's going to know that that's what you want. No one's going to want it. No one's going to know to help you. So, like, scream it out loud. 2, have a great brand. Like, know who you are and what you represent. And if you asked anyone else in your organization or even outside of your organization what that person stands for, they'd all have similar messages because your brand is something that's very important and something that you should work on frequently. So your voice externally is important. And then the other thing is that interviewing is not just a short-term thing. It's not a job opens up, okay, let me start my deck that I need to work on. Let me go talk to the hiring manager. Let me go whatever. It's not finite. It's ongoing. So you are throughout your time, even when a job isn't open. You're always interviewing. So your conversations that you're having with people, your struggles and what you're trying to work on and how you're trying to grow and showing your evolution throughout an entire year or two will get you that job without interviewing. And like,
I love it. I mean, you're kind of taking the victimhood out of it, right? Like someone's going to do something for me versus I need to advocate for myself all the time. But a lot of people, don't want to do that, right? Like you said, they're waiting. Yeah.
But it's work. Like, I feel like I have 2 jobs. One is my career path and one is my sales job. Like, seriously, like I spend a lot of time networking and working on special projects is what I'll call to like try to show that I'm capable of new skills. And I love feedback. While feedback is hard sometimes, like tell me all the feedback. Don't hide it. I'm tough. Like tell me what I need to work on. What do you think?
No, but you're someone that seeks it and a lot of people want to avoid it, right? And I think that's a huge difference. And I love when you're talking about a brand, right? I don't think people think about their personal brand, like every word you utter, right? Every relationship, the way you treat people notice and that becomes your brand, even if you're not conscious of it.
Exactly.
So I love you saying that and how important it is and just to be authentic. Like you started there, right? Like I needed to decide on my style and my vibe because that's my brand and it made me feel more comfortable. I mean, I think that's great.
Yeah. And I have I wrote on my
TJ's trying to think about his brand right now.
It's like, what? Like, no, it's a great brand, DJ.
Although I'm going to have to do a brand audit. Rich, can I use your PR company? I got.
Sure. I think my brand has changed. I mean, I've tried to become more like TJ. I mean, that's the truth, right? I mean, I never had a beard, I never had tattoos, and I
You
changed
brought
my
that out of
brand.
you. But then you met, I mean, once you get to know someone better and you kind of become, one.
It's
You
like
guys
we're
are very
married.
big.
We're starting to look more alike. My hair's falling out slowly, growing on my back. I'm not losing it. It's just moving to my back where I can't see it anyway, which is fine, whatever. And yeah, you have more tattoos than I have, so no, I think it's interesting, and I love that. I think that's a good story. I think a lot of people don't think that you literally have to go after everything that you want in life,
Yes.
because divine intervention and the secret, if you buy into that show or that book, and
Yep.
the universe gives us what we deserve and what we earn, you still have to reach up and grab it. It's not going to
Yes.
land in your pocket. And I think a lot of people don't understand that that's a tireless job, and it's when you're the most tired that the most opportunities probably are floating around, which is something not a lot of people appreciate. So
I
I love
agree. And
all.
I think also like I have these little sticky notes on my computer and I have one that's my values and I have 5 things and I always think if I'm going to act on something, does it fit one of those things? And they're be authentic, which makes sense based on our conversation. Be present because I'm always worried about the future or thinking about something I screwed up in the past or like it's always that catch and release where I'm never focused on what's happening right now. So like be present is very important. Be grateful. You'd be surprised at how many times you go through life and you do something for someone and they don't say thank you and how you feel. Or someone else does something for you and you don't say thank you, they're probably going to remember that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you want to be grateful for the stuff that is given to you and that you are also grateful for the stuff you put out. Be helpful. So like I want to always find a way to help people. I don't want to live in a silo. Like that's why I like leadership. I want to help. I want to help people be better, and be memorable. So back to everything we've been discussing, like how do I stand out? How do I be memorable? So those are my 5.
I love that.
I love that. I don't have any stickies here. I got a dragon, some coins, picture of my brother who passed away a couple of years ago. I need stickies and affirmations, I think. I'm
I can
noticing
write
I got
some.
some cobwebs in the corner of a window, the way the light is coming
Listen,
in.
it's been working for you,
Hey,
right?
you know what that reminds me of? Those cobwebs just say be sticky at all times. So
Nice.
You have your own sticky note.
I have to. I like the brand thing. I don't know if I've ever really taken stock in my brand or any of that type of stuff. I know that I'm all over the place when I write and when I talk, and some people hate it and some people love it. But I don't. I don't know. It's interesting. I try and
But I
just
think
be
it
me.
I think what the brand does for you is not just outward like communication of who you are, but I think it's also inward. I often ask people that I'm helping, like, if you were doing some introspection, how would you say you're doing? What would you say your weaknesses are? What would you say your strengths are? How do you compare to others that you see? And you'd be surprised at how many people cannot answer that question.
Hmm.
It's a stumper. I usually spring questions on Rich during the podcast, and they've been in the list for months, and he's still
No, I
still
think
struggling.
I agree with you. I mean, I try to. I'm saying Vicky, not you, TJ. I don't quite believe you. Like you act. I mean, you have this. Oh, you know, you have values. I mean, I'm attracted to you as a friend because of who you are
I agree.
and because of your brand. So, yeah, maybe
I
you don't articulate it and you don't have a sticky note, but you're kind of full of shit a little bit because
I
you're
totally
a good
agree.
person. You're authentic,
Are
I
we talking
and
totally
about
that.
me?
Yeah,
Yes, we're talking
yeah,
Oh,
I
I
about
thought you
you.
was.
said you were talking about Vicky. I was like,
No.
Well,
okay, let's
I
see.
was responding to her, but then I shifted to you. And you have a big heart, and that's what attracts me to you.
But
And Vicky, a
I
lot of
think,
things you said I love, like help other people. Like that's sales. If you're doing sales right, you're helping other people.
yeah,
Well,
but
we're always selling something. It's just not always for money. And I
Yeah.
think that if we could sort of agree to disagree on everyone's interpretation of that, I think that it's all about sort of a social contract with your friends and your family and the people that matter to you and the people that look up to you and the people that you lead, Vicky, and the people that they interact with every day, right? So it's an interesting thing. I think we're always selling something to somebody, even if it's only to ourselves, to
Life
get
is
out of.
sales, baby. Life is sales.
Oh,
But
hey, look at that. A pitch for Rich.
that should be coined, a pitch for Rich. That's great.
We
But
got
I
some.
think for both of you and your impact on my life, so like impact is a big thing of like where can I make impact and also your heart. Like I feel like both of you care a lot about me, which is like
Yeah.
it's invaluable to know someone that cares that much about you and wants to see you successful. It's like my parents, you know, they want to see me successful, but like how do you find that relationship in your community where I know that I can call either of you and be like, my life is a total mess. I don't know what I'm doing. How do I, you know, and just like calm down. Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna involve myself. And like you are both those people for me. And it's like, you know, it's an honor to be that for you and for you guys to be that for me. So thank you.
I appreciate that.
I appreciate that too. And you know that, like, how many times have I like just randomly texted you and being like, "Hey, like, I don't need anything. I'm just checking in. Like,
Oh, teach,
how
we
are you?
do that
How
all
are
the
you?"
time. We're just be like, hi, I was thinking about you. How are you doing? You know, it's like, it means so much. And honestly, that's sales too. Like
Yeah.
having people feel like you care about them and not just trying to sell them something.
Yeah, well,
100%.
that's the secret sauce under everything. So, Vicky, do you have any questions for us? I mean, what do you anything you would want to ask? I mean, you know, you got Rich and I here. We basically thing one and thing two, and
That's true.
we gotta come up with something for us, Rich. The odd couple. I like the odd couple, but
TJ used to say he's like the anti-rich, which is very funny.
that's
Why?
such an old
Well,
statement.
it was old when I was clean shaven. I mean, think about it. Like I had no beard, very,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, buttoned
Love it.
up, no tattoos. And so we were not value based, but on the surface, we were looked very opposite.
Business wise, we were different. Yeah, you were like the clean cut Midwestern, like Michigan guy, and the keg tap and you know, hacky sack townie.
Well, and we've
You
talked
know,
about it because people don't know the TJ that's not at a conference and not, you know, doing bottle service. So that's where a lot of people
Hey,
just,
hey,
no, but it's true. Like a lot of people were just hold that like TJ must party like 365 days a year. And like, no, he parties like 4 days a year, like every
that's what
conference.
you're seeing. Yeah.
that's
We'll stick
true.
with that.
Vicky has been out with me more than you have, Rich.
That's true.
I don't know.
He texts me from clubs. He's like, "Hey, we have a cranberry for you, Rich. Come on out." And then they would like fuck with me all the time, send me videos. Rich, we've got a cranberry right here. You and Nava and Adam. It's funny.
That's
But
because we love you.
that's what I was just about to say. That's
Well,
like TJ's text to me being like, "How are you doing?" Like
yeah.
that's the same thing. It shows that you're thinking about him.
I think
Think about
I know that, and that makes a difference, right?
yeah. I've sent you some videos where I basically spoke to you inappropriately and told you should get out of bed and come in. But you know, that's all. It's all water on the table.
Well, I
Listen,
think I was saying this to someone the other day. Like, you know, either of you know, if you needed something and you called me, I'd be on a plane, right? Like, if you really needed something and you called me, and I think that, you know, you know, there's not a ton of people like that, right? But I think that's kind of when you know, like, someone's behind you, someone's got your back,
That's
right? And you can count on them.
100% how I feel about the two. Like you couldn't have described it better. I do feel like you would get on a plane or something if I needed you for something. And I say that and I have questions for you, so don't think I
we
forgot
would
that.
even back you up on a pitch if you just randomly want to dial us
No,
into
I
like
know,
a
but
couple
that's
with your
what
team.
I say
Like
to
you should do a
every
QBR and just have Rich and I. We're not paying the 10K. We're not buying
It'd
everybody
be like
dinner.
dial an OG. Like
We're
it'd
not
be like a
falling.
service. We should do
Yeah,
an
it's gonna be
800
like
service.
oh,
One eight
it's
hundred
gonna
dial an OG. I
it's
mean,
sales
OG
sales
it's
as a
OG
service.
QBR back when we didn't have to fucking didn't get built for 10 grand to buy dinner and an activity, which by the way is a sham we got to talk about at some point. That's funny. But no, you should have us come in. We would come in and sit on one of your QBRs and just be you know, just zoom in, just two heads. We'll do a live
answer
No,
podcast.
questions.
but it's great. Like I think that would be great because I feel like there's this history that you guys have, which is all of my questions, but like your tenure and knowledge of this space and the evolution of it but also of like business owners and business owners that have been purchased, and you've had to hire and fire a lot of people, and you've had to make important business moves and balance a family and like, you look at me and ask me these questions, but you've been doing it, longer than I have, and you guys are gurus and would speak wisely to my team, and I would love that. So I'm going to follow up on writing that down as something that you guys are going to do for me.
Good.
Of course, we
What do
would
you
do
want
it
to,
for you.
what do you want to ask us, Vicky? Now we've got as well, we got 15, 20, as much time as you want, 10 minutes, whatever. We'll give you a little bit of your day back, but what do you want to ask us?
I I always want to know, like, what are the things that you look for in, I guess we'll partition it to work, but like in your companies, like, what are the types of people that have stood out to you? Like, what are you looking for in someone that, you would hire and take on? And it doesn't have, like, most of the time what I'm expecting your answer to be is like, it's not this has their shit together, this perfect human, this like, there's something else that I think has made each of your businesses successful. Like, honestly, I think you've hired and strategized and done that all perfectly, which has led you to where you are. Like, when you think of success for someone or someone that's working for you, what's the vibe? Like, what are you saying?
Rich, you want me to go there too?
Go ahead.
I usually
He
do
always
this.
tries to dish it to me first, so I'll let him talk.
That's so I can think.
I
Say,
know.
because you're
It's a
more
good
eloquent.
strategy.
No, I got
To
that.
be fair, you've been asking me questions that I was not prepared for, and I've been answering without thought.
Yeah, yeah, you did good. But those are the best, purity over perfection is what we're going for here. That's the same way we describe the production quality when I do all the post on this. So what do I look for and what do I find? Well, there's an intangible thing that I can't describe, and it's likability, right? So for me, I'm looking for a type of person that just like has an attitude and kind of not an attitude in a good way, but or an attitude in a good way, but there's kind of a vibe and an energy and sort of a vivaciousness about them where they feel like a good person. They can have a good conversation and they want this. They want an opportunity, and I can feel that they want an opportunity. And again, I'm a misguided youth, so I'll give anybody a chance if they make it through an interview. The other thing that I look for is questions. There's nothing more important than when you're first meeting somebody and interviewing somebody than the questions that they ask and the way that they listen to those questions as they're answered and the way they follow up with those questions. I think that is absolutely critical. So you take this vibe and this sort of energy and you can feel it right away. Even when they're nervous, it doesn't bother me. I try and calm them down. I take them on a walk or I'll get them a coffee or I'll say something inappropriate around another staff member just to kind of break the ice on it. The questions are critical to me. I have to be able to sense this willingness to learn and to listen. And that's a deal sealer for me. If they're not willing to learn and listen and do things that maybe are outside of what they came in to talk with me about, at least on occasion, kind of explore the chaos and explore the things that happen outside of their core skill, that's going to generally be a challenge for me. So when I'm first doing an interview, that's really what I look for. And I've hired more people over the last 29, 30 years on vibe. I've literally gotten through interviews and been so in love with the human that I was talking with that I wanted them there. And
Yep.
uh and then I've been willing to put the work in because I'm not asking them, it's not a one-way street. If they're going to be inquisitive, I need to be willing to answer the questions, right?
Yes.
If they're willing to try new things, I need to let them scrape their knees and elbows on a few things and not constantly mother them. I don't know what
Yep.
the dad version of that is, but and if they want to learn, right, and they want to really explore, I have to be willing to put the energy in because to have all of that talent and that desire and that sort of willingness to grow and adapt, there has to be somebody on the other side there that's willing to answer every question, show them where all the roadblocks are, let them get a few bumps and bruises, but also put the real deep personal and professional dialogue in them that I don't think people get a lot of the time. And there are guys, I mean, I'm just going off of memory. I don't know if they even listen to this, but Scotty Babb is somebody that stands out in my head. We used to have this thing where we would make you design a website as part of your interview if you're going to be a designer. And he came in with his binder and all of that. Um, John O'Harrington, another kid. I just fucking loved him. Like there was something about him I loved. I loved all he had done, all he had tried. I loved how honest he was. So many, Chris Bousquet, going all the way back. Jim Holbert, was the first kid that ever came in, didn't know shit, like literally knew nothing about nothing. And I was like, fuck it. All right, you're a good dude. We're gonna find a role for you here, and I'm gonna show you things. Neil Goslin, sales reps. Chris Dow, actually,
Yeah.
Chris
Yeah.
Dow came into managed services. I didn't even hire the kid. People told me for years, like, you got to go talk to this kid. You got to go spend time with him, and I didn't. He was kind of quiet off in a corner. But once I did, I mean, look at him now. I know
Yeah.
not everybody in our ecosystem's pleased with what he's doing, but he's on the similar path to you. He's very driven, and I couldn't be prouder to have been able to mentor him for a decade. So
I love that answer. It's very your answer. I love the idea of likability, and it's also this idea that you said it's like a vibe. So
yeah.
you're gonna entrust someone based on even one interaction with them in the beginning. And I take the same approach in like interviews. Sometimes I won't even talk about Salesforce. I'll just
Yeah.
can we shoot the shit for 30 minutes and not be weird? You know what I mean? Like, do I learn something about you? Do you ask questions? All the things that you said. Um, but I think that's a big piece of it. Like you want to put in the work to someone you feel like is giving back. It's like a two-way relationship that you're going to do. But I see you approach not just interviews like that, but life friends like that too. Like
Yeah.
that's who you surround yourself with. I feel like
Work,
Rich's
work,
answer is going to be,
work is weird. People are not. And I
yeah,
think when we try and move it into work, it gets weird because there's such a lack of context. So if you can get away from work and bring context into the humanness that lives in all of us, then I think you can have a really good dialogue. And I think anybody that's willing is teachable. And I think that's probably,
totally.
I've made some bad decisions over the years, but it is what it is. So, all right,
Thank you.
Rich.
Yeah.
Hold
Thanks.
on, hold on. What was the question again? Because my answer was long. What was the question
No,
again, Vicky?
No, the question,
hiring. Go ahead.
like, what are you looking for? Yeah, sure, in hiring, but like, what's someone that stands out to you, and what are their qualities? Like, what are you looking for in building your very successful businesses?
I mean, I was always a big culture guy, right? So I would focus on culture and cultural fit, whatever that means. And some of that is intangible. So TJ, I liked what you were saying. Um, because I think in the beginning, like Dave and I would, we'd always, our last part of our interview would be to take someone out to dinner. So as we got bigger, I wasn't interviewing every person, but they'd get to us and be like, we want to hire this person. And it didn't have to be a salesperson, it could be anyone in the whole company. They'd be like, okay, we're going to hire this person. Let's take them out to dinner. And so we'd take them out to a steakhouse, whatever, Smith and Walensky, we'd take them out, and you'd be shocked how many people would literally throw up on themselves. I mean, this is like on paper, they're perfect. We're hiring this person, go from everyone, like thumbs up, every single person. And then we take them out, and it's not just always about drinking, right? Sometimes it was a lunch. It wasn't like they would drink too much and be idiots, but I just mean, like, back to brand, Vicky, like you talked about brand, right? Like my name's on the door, right? And so every person I hire is representing me and representing my reputation and my name. And I was very, very clear on that. So when I take someone out and they'd start talking and get a little too comfortable with me, I mean, you're with the two founders, right? You're with Dave and I, and they'd get, we wanted them to be comfortable because we wanted to get to know them, but we didn't want them to be overly comfortable. And there's times where I'm like, the story you just told me, if you ever told a customer that story, I would be embarrassed. And you just told me that, and I'm the CEO.
Yep.
I mean, so it was brand. I mean, I'm looking, so that was one thing, right? Like, just, do you have good judgment? And I was really like, I would tell people over and over and over, like, every interaction you have is part of our brand. Everything.
Yes. Yes.
Everything.
Yeah.
You know, someone calls and they're super upset, their website's down. You have to respond appropriately. You can't get reactive. You can't be like, no, it's not our fault. You know, it's more like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I hear you.
Totally.
We're going to get on it and we'll get back to you.
Mhm.
Right. And so I was looking for that kind of intangible, you know, you know, so that's part of it. I think the other part was, and TJ, you said it, like people have to want it. Like in the beginning, I thought I'm a good salesperson and I can teach anyone to be successful. Like I literally thought that, right? For real. Like I know how to do it. I'll give you the playbook. I'm going to walk you through the playbook and you will be successful because I will make you successful. And I really believe that. And then I hired a couple people and I couldn't figure out like, why aren't they being successful? Like I couldn't figure it out. Like I was so like, what the fuck's going on? Like there's something really wrong here. And then I had this like moment where like, I can't do it for them. They have to want it. I mean,
Yeah.
they have to want it for themselves. I can want so much for them and I can want to give them so much, but then I realized I was wasting my time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was the people that were hungry, they wanted it. They didn't have to have the, you know, the degree. You guys probably know Aaron Eversole. One of my favorites, right? And he's like a farm boy and, you know, this and that. But he's got the biggest heart and he wants to serve a customer and he wants to do well, right? You know, Dave Barr, like he was my first hire and became my co-founder, right? Because Dave he had a plan and he knew the game and he was going to work it and he knew how to do it and, you know, and he wanted to serve other people, you know, so there's some intangible for sure, but some of it's just, are you a good person? Do you have judgment? Do you know what to say and what not to say?
Yeah.
You know.
I think your answer is very on brand for our whole conversation, I think. But I loved the idea of taking them out of corporate life, like taking them out of the pitch for 30 minutes, you know, those phone calls, and putting them into a natural conversation because that's mostly how things are done.
Right.
And you can be you could practice your pitch for the 30 minutes, you know, of what you're presenting and be perfect, and then you get hired off of that, but in real life you don't have your shit together, you know. So I like the idea of taking them out of something that's been practiced and making them do
You kind of
something
want a good person, right? Like just
yeah.
a good
Well,
person.
the other interesting thing we used to bring people out a bit too is that you know you get a sense of like how relaxed is relaxed. And Rich, you brought up an interesting thing that reminded me. Like I used to bring people out when we were at the shows, right? I'd bring them out to my table service. We all know that's what I've done every year for a decade plus, and it was always a test. Vicky, you remember this? I'd bring people
Yes.
out. I'd allow them to enjoy themselves as much or as little as they wanted, and then how they conducted themselves would determine whether I ever spoke with them, worked with them, or interacted with them again. And
Right.
it is interesting to see how people conduct themselves. I remember we had a dinner and, you know, kid ordered like the most expensive thing on the menu, you know, drank more drinks than he probably should have.
Right.
You know, it's
But
an interesting.
but back to my point of you're always interviewing. You're
Yeah.
always
Oh,
interviewing. Like
well,
and the best thing that can happen is someone noticing how great you are. Like you bringing out these people to your table service or Rich, you bringing someone out to dinner
Yeah.
and someone else in your group coming up to you and saying, I really like that kid. Like
correct.
he's great or
And
whatever.
sometimes
Like
it's them believing in themselves, right? Like I hired a kid, and it's funny, you all know this kid, but I hired a kid, had gotten in some trouble in college, blah, 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 whatever, commission only. I mean, you gotta believe in yourself to take a job commission only.
Yeah.
He went on to be hugely successful.
but I think it's also like people like you in the industry that are able to take a chance on someone.
Right.
I think oftentimes, because I've been through this before, is people feeling like you're not qualified or you need 10 years of experience for whatever, or you've never done this job before. Why do you feel like you're qualified? The amount of times that I've been told no because I've never done it before is like a million. But it's like, take a chance on me. I'm gonna figure it out. Like
Right.
I have the will, I have the wants. Like someone is going to take a chance on me for something. And like, you just have to believe that there are people like you that are willing to do that and put in the work to make someone successful. It's not always going to work out, but that's what I need. Like, to make me stable, people like you guys that would do that for someone.
It is. I do find that it's getting increasingly more difficult to find people that think the way Rich and I do. And it's not because we were owners, by the way. Anybody listening, it's not because we're founders. It's not because we're owners. It's because we're people that somebody else has done that to in the past, or
Right.
many people
Yes.
have, and it worked out. And it is interesting. I mean, I even go as far as saying every interview that I do that it feels bad and it feels like it's a failure and I know this person isn't a fit, I turn it into a mentoring session unbeknownst to them, right? Because every interaction is a chance to impart some wisdom and some guidance. And, some people will do something with it and some people won't. But I wish there was more chance taking out there, and that's why we have the network of friends that we do, right? Because I feel like everyone that we associate with, Rich, you, Vicky, we kind of all are in similar circles, some minor overlapping. They're all people that if we ever walked in would take a notice, right? And would kind of,
Yep.
whether we were qualified or not, would give us a shot at something. So I love that. That's an amazing
Great
question.
question.
We have a few more minutes left. You have any other questions you'd like to ask that you get some rapid
So
replies out of us?
my favorite question that I ask people, I have one more
Uh-oh.
is if you weren't doing what you're doing today, what would be your dream job? And it might be what you're doing today, which is fine. I'm okay with that answer. But something that and I always have an answer for this, but like, if you weren't doing what you're doing, what would you be doing?
Go ahead.
TJ.
I always make Rich go first, so this is me paying homage to him. I would be a teacher. I would teach. I think if I never did this, or
No, it doesn't matter. Or it's just something that you've always thought about doing that you've never done, or something
yeah.
that you would rather, it could be what you would rather be doing, but also something that you've always thought about that you're compassionate about.
Yeah, if I could do anything right now, I would want to teach. I'd like to teach a generation of kids that are coming up. Not K through 12 type kids, but kids that are like on that on ramp to reality and they can go left or they can go right.
Yeah.
I'd love to do that. Something I used to do a lot that I've gotten away from is speak. I would love to do more speaking. I haven't been speaking in a while. I speak very openly about my background. It's kind of messy. Generally, most of the dialogues I've had have been around at-risk kids and TEDx's and things like that. But if I could pick two things to literally dedicate my time to, I would love to educate younger adults in areas where I think I can provide some wisdom and guidance and structure. And then I'd love to get back out there and speak more. I have a little bit of imposter syndrome and anxiety around speaking.
I feel like you are such a good speaker, and
Me
I can
too.
see that the teaching element, like
Inside, I'm a mess.
For-
When I speak, I'm a mess.
but for what it's worth, you do these things already. You are already a teacher and you are already a speaker. I mean, your post on LinkedIn, I read every single one of them.
Me too.
And they're
Thank
wonderful.
you.
Like, you're just an inspiration. Even though you may not feel like you're doing that already, you are 100% doing that.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. Well, I guess I don't have anything else then. I'd like to be a better golfer.
Okay, we'll work on that.
I need to spend more time on leather. Rich, I don't know if I told you, but a car hit. So I just bought a house in Portsmouth last year and a fucking car ran into it.
Oh
a
no,
couple of
you
months.
told me because it ruined some of your art.
Oh
We
yeah,
talked
yeah,
about it.
ruined
Yeah.
it. Ruined a piece of
Like
artwork.
at full speed, ran into it.
Yeah, actually, it's two sisters. It's a longer story than here, but the drunk one was the passenger. Didn't like that her sober sister was letting her leave town, and after punching her, didn't do anything. Grabbed the wheel and tried to make her turn to go back into town, and instead did a 90-degree turn and literally slammed into the one window that you could have fit a car through in here, and kind of ruined the whole studio. That's why there's no artwork behind me, and it looks kind of bland. But my point was, I got to get back to the leather work. I haven't touched leather in a long time, so. But I do that too. Honestly, Victoria, I'm doing everything I wanted to do in addition to my profession. I'm trying to be a good husband. I'm trying to be a good dad as my kids get into their later teens. I'm trying to have good hobbies. I'm trying to share wisdom, trying to be a better friend. Certainly to
You're
the
a good
squad.
friend. You're a good friend.
I try. I'm okay. I give myself a C plus, which is
Oh,
better than
come
my.
on.
I give yourself an A plus.
You're a bad
A
grader.
plus.
Dude, you're a bad
Yeah.
grader.
All right, Rich. If
And
you weren't doing this, what would you be doing?
I mean, it's so funny because you and I have never talked about this. And
Oh, drum roll.
I'll have two answers,
wait.
but no, I always wanted to be a teacher. I mean, so it's really funny that you answered that because when I was a kid, like I always helped my friends. Like I was very good at math, and I helped my friends that weren't as good at math. I helped my sister. I always, I like helping people, right? And I think that teaching, my mom was a teacher, when I was a kid. She taught preschool and nursery school. And I think there was a way, this is going to go a little deep here for a second, but I think there was a way that I didn't feel understood as a kid. Like, I was very sensitive before I got into sports and lifted weights, very vulnerable, very emotional, and I still am, but I've surrounded it with other things. But I felt like no one understood me and I felt very alone, right? So I think sometimes teaching, you can create environments for people to feel that they belong and to feel understood and to understand someone because they have a different perspective and it's not the same as everyone else. And so, that would be my one answer. And then my other answer, Victoria, I'd never call you Victoria, Vicky.
It's teaching. Right? It's like,
I know it's like I see
No,
you,
he's nervous. That's
Victoria,
his
yeah.
nerves
Vicky.
showing.
Yeah, you're getting me close to tears, so I have to, suck it up a little bit. No, but I think my other answer, honestly, like I always wanted to run my own company. Ever since I was a kid, my father had his own accounting firm. I thought I was going to be an accountant. I changed that, but I always wanted to run my own company. I never thought I was ready, right? So it was always like after the next job, after the next job, after the next job. But then I went through the dot-com boom and bust and two $1 billion bankruptcies, and then I was left for the first time in my life like without a job. So then I started a company, right? But I think, and I lived my dream. Like, I mean, I can get emotional about this, but like, you asked me what I want to do. Like, I did what I wanted to do. I ran my own company. I built something that I loved. I loved my people. I loved my culture. I mean, if the market didn't change, I'd probably still be running it, right? I mean, I wasn't the entrepreneur who wanted to spin up a bunch of companies and sell them. Like, I wanted to live in my company. It was like my family, right? I felt loved and I felt like I could love other people. So I do feel like, I lived that dream. And people ask me, like, do you want to do it again? And we joke about it and stuff, but I kind of feel like I did it.
Yeah.
And
I,
and now if I can give back and teach and speak, and we have like the same answer, TJ, which is very funny. But I love to teach, I love to speak. If I can help someone, my joke is if I can help you not make the same mistakes I made, then I win. You'll make your own mistakes, but maybe don't make the same ones I did. And I
I
love being a
feel,
last thing, I'm sorry. I
yeah,
love being
no, go ahead.
I always wanted to get married and I always wanted to be a father. And I feel so blessed to be a father. Like it was like it's such a huge gift to have a partner like my wife Gertrude, and it's coming up on 34 years. I mean, she's made me a better person, no question. And then becoming a father has made me a better person. So I feel blessed. I feel super lucky.
So nothing on the list that you haven't ticked off yet.
Well, I wish I was a better golfer. I mean, if I could be a
So we're
pro
doing
if I
golfing.
could be a
I'm hearing.
pro golfer, if I had the skills, that would be a great career. But I mean, if I could be a teacher and a coach, like in high school or something, that would be so fun.
I
I
agree.
think it's, I think I love, first of all, I feel like your answers are very authentic because it's what I've seen. And I feel like that's what made me gravitate towards the both of you is that like you had great businesses, but you were also so dedicated to like caring about your people and caring about your businesses and caring about it. Like I see that from the other side, which is why I want to bring you closer. You know what I mean? So, um, but I think your answers of teachers is great because teachers are leaders and leaders are what you are, right? So you're portraying this dream job that you already have, which Rich came full circle to realizing.
Right.
But like it's like you are living your dream, which is why you are so happy. And I feel like a lot of people force themselves into lives that they don't want to live and therefore have a challenge of their identity, like identity crisis of what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Um,
We've talked about that in the past about like being trapped. Like I remember Eric asking me if I wanted to do this for the rest of my life, and my
mhm.
answer was, "Dude, I get paid to draw on a computer, and like that's kind of a
It
gig."
sounds fun.
And then I never looked back. But it's hard to pull the ripcord when you're already at a certain critical velocity and you've got family and friends and children and all of that. And you know, if I had any advice for anybody that's even thinking about pursuing their dreams, you know, clear all the distractions out. Like, don't get married right away. Don't burden yourself with children because while it'll change you for the better, it can be an impediment if you need to make really major decisions about your life and where your life is going to go. You know, if you have two people and they have great jobs and great support systems, it's a very different thing. But,
Yeah.
you know, I'm out there trying to fight for the kid that never got a break, and the kid that never got a chance, and you know the cranking amps that's required for that human to break the barrier that is in front of them, either self-imposed or otherwise, is, you know, it
But I
takes a lot
think
of cranking amps to get through that.
I love that you both said the same thing, which is like you had a childhood where you felt misunderstood or unheard, or you want to help these people that don't have the benefits that a lot of other people do. Like maybe there's a piece of you that growing up changed the way you like shaped you into what you are today. Like
For sure,
that's your
100%.
experience made you what you are today. And that's like I feel like I'm living that experience right now where like I keep getting hit in the head left and right of things that are like messing with my life, but they're shaping me. So
Right.
like when I think about mistakes and I think about discouragement and I think about sadness and all these moments that I have, they're teaching me a lesson. They're shaping me into like what I'm going to become. And I look at the two of you as like, you did exactly what I'm doing right now, or like in just in a different way. And you've made it to happiness. Like you guys are both very happy people in doing what you love because you take no bullshit from others. Like you're not going to be
Right.
guided by what others are telling you to do. You're going to do exactly what you want to do because you're capable of it.
I love that. And what's interesting is so Rich, like I never like, first of all, how similar our answers were might be the creepiest thing to
It was
happen.
very creepy as you're answering. I'm like, oh, this is a little weird, but yeah.
Well, I'm glad I went first because I probably would have had to change my answers up, but I appreciate you doing the overlap. But the other part was I don't know if anybody caught that, but that little micro story on like your childhood and feeling inadequate and getting into exercise and sports and things like that. Like, you know, one day we'll dig into that. I talked about it a little bit on Bashoy's podcast, but like there's still a little boy inside of me that, you know, some wounds weep for decades,
For
and
sure.
you know, I
I'd
think
say
all
forever, but it
you know,
creates,
I like
like
to have
what
hope.
Vicky's saying, it creates who we are now.
Yes.
Yeah. Vicky, those are awesome questions. I appreciate that. And I love your talk track. I love that you took over the podcast too.
I'm
Those are
for
good.
hire. I'm kidding.
Part-time basis. You can give us 20 minutes a week, maybe 30
Yeah.
if we buy lunch and have it
Yeah,
sent down.
exactly. I need 10K for like a trip somewhere.
That's right.
We'll send you to Rich's house in Mexico. But I super appreciate you coming on. It's been a pleasure chatting with you, and I love sort of the authentic answers, and I love your questions too. So
And
I
I
think
love
the
you.
thing
I
that
hold you, you're another one of my daughters. Like I hold I have so many daughters besides my two, actual children, right? So
Thank you. I
and
really
Rich,
mean
of
means a
course, I
lot to
love
me.
you.
You guys, I said this in the beginning, but I'll say it over and over again. Like hearing from the both of you throughout our life cycles, like sometimes we go months without talking, but then reconnect at a trade show or reconnect in this thing like this. And I feel like every time I talk to you, I learn something from you. And this conversation has been enthralling and honestly, like makes me think about my life and how I'm going to evolve it. And I hope the listeners out there think the same thing is that you're taking notes. Like every conversation you learn something from. So
For sure.
the more of these that you have and the more you build on relationships. And look, TJ has known Rich for years and just learned one thing about him today that we were able to accomplish in this conversation. So thank you to the both of you. You also are so intimate and a huge part of my life. And I thank you for everything you've done for me and will do for me in the future.
Thank you for being you. I
Yeah.
love you, and thanks for being on. It's been a pleasure. So much fun.
Yeah. I appreciate every word that you said, and maybe the calling is that Rich and I need to teach and speak together on stage. And
That
just
would be
find a way.
awesome.
It'd be great. I
Ping
would
pong back and
100%
forth.
attend it.
Rich can come in with his nice Midwestern style, and then I'll just come in with the fuck this, fuck that bullshit,
And my Nike tennis shoes.
I was gonna say Nike tennis shoes and
we can
blazer.
wear matchies. So, all righty. Well, listen, I appreciate your time, Rich, as usual, and Vicky. Love chatting with you. The good news is I get to do all the post production on this, so I'm going to listen to this 15 more times over the next couple of days. For everybody still listening here at an hour 20 in, thank you for listening in on another episode of Tea with Rich. I am T, this is Rich, and our guest Vicky. Thank you, Vicky. Have a great weekend, everyone. Vicky, don't hang up when I end this, though. Okay, hold on.
Thanks, brother. Thanks, Vicky.
Bye, everyone.